For all its beauty and splendor, the wilderness can be a cruel teacher. There is a certain freedom that comes with the open road, an allure that calls you to leave behind the familiar and seek out the unknown. Yet, for all its beauty, the road less traveled comes with its share of pitfalls. The smooth pavement fades into dirt tracks where a wrong turn could lead you deeper into the unknown. The shortcut that seemed like a good idea on the map can turn treacherous without warning. Let's venture back to the savage wilderness where survival is earned, not given. This is Outdoor Disasters. The Humboldt-Toiyabe National Forest is the largest national forest in the contiguous United States, spanning over 6.3 million acres across Nevada and a small portion of eastern California. It encompasses a diverse range of landscapes, from rugged mountains and deep canyons to expansive deserts and lush alpine meadows. One of the unique aspects of this forest is that it is divided into several non-contiguous sections spread across a wide area, with elevations ranging from around 4,000 to over 13,000 feet. The Mountain City District encompasses a diverse range of geographical features, including the Jarbidge and Independence mountain ranges. It is known for its rugged canyons, high-elevation peaks, thick forests, and alpine meadows. The climate in the Mountain City Ranger District can be quite variable due to the range in elevation. Winters are cold and snowy, particularly at higher elevations, where snow can linger into late spring. Summers are generally warm to hot, with cooler temperatures in the higher elevations. The area is known for sudden weather changes, particularly in the spring and fall, when storms can bring snow, rain, or high winds. Visitors should be prepared for rapidly changing conditions. The remoteness and rugged terrain of the Mountain City District can make travel challenging, especially for those unfamiliar with backcountry navigation. Roads can be rough, and many require a high-clearance four-wheel drive vehicle. Cell phone service is limited to non-existent in many parts of the district, and GPS devices may not always be reliable due to the rugged terrain. Humboldt-Toiyabe National Forest is a place of stunning natural beauty and remote wilderness, offering incredible opportunities for outdoor enthusiasts willing to venture off the beaten path. However, it also poses significant challenges due to its rugged terrain, variable weather, and remote location. Visitors are encouraged to plan carefully, as this is a true remote Western environment. For Albert and Rita Chretien, their road trip through the Humboldt-Toiyabe wilderness would be treacherous. In March 2011, the Chretiens, a married couple from British Columbia, Canada, decided to set off on an adventure that combined business with pleasure. Albert, 59, and Rita Chretien, 56, ran a successful commercial excavation business and were heading to a trade show in Las Vegas, a city they had always wanted to visit. With a firm grip on their work and a shared passion for exploration, they decided to make the most of their trip by taking a scenic route across the western United States. "We were so excited about seeing the country, we had never gone that route before," Rita recalled. They had planned their journey meticulously, eager to see some of the less traveled sights along the way. Their route would take them through the snow-dusted mountains, across vast open plains, and into the deserts of Nevada. They'd packed their trusty Chevy Astro van with all the essentials: food, water, blankets, and a GPS device that they trusted implicitly to guide them. They left their home of Penticton and crossed the U.S. border with ease, navigating south through Washington, Oregon, and into Idaho. For days they were mesmerized by the majestic scenery of the western United States. Their GPS device led them confidently from one waypoint to another and reached Baker City, Oregon. After getting gas, they were on their way to Jackpot through southern Idaho. Apparently, Al made a wrong turn and headed south onto Idaho 51 at Mountain Home toward Mountain City, Nevada. Realizing he turned too soon off I-84 to reach Jackpot, they likely saw they had to go further south and backtrack east on I-80 toward Wells, then north to Jackpot. This mistake would add an extra 180 miles and 3 hours of travel and is likely the reason Al and Rita were looking for an alternative route. Instead of traveling the main roads, they were feeling adventurous, and the GPS found a quote-unquote shortcut that cut across to US 93, directly to Jackpot. The GPS guided them on a primitive U.S. Forest Service road, NF-016, towards Jarbidge. Had it been the summer, the route would have taken the Chretiens through a beautiful canyon road with breathtaking views. But this was March, and unbeknownst to them, the road was bogged down from rain, and they were heading towards a muddy trap. Al and Rita turned off the main highway and onto the remote road, NF-016. At first, everything seemed fine down the narrow, quiet road, the scenery growing more dramatic with each twist and turn. Snow still capped the peaks above them, but the day was bright, and the chill of winter seemed far away. However, as they continued deeper into the forest, the road became narrower and less maintained. Potholes began to dot their path, and sections of the road were broken up by patches of rough gravel and mud. Albert navigated with care, but the van was no off-road vehicle, and the conditions seemed to worsen with every passing mile. On the Nevada side, the road became more of a country road, and after many kilometers, it began to feel more like a back road trail. Despite the deteriorating conditions, the GPS continued to indicate all the turns, so they kept going for nearly 9 kilometers. At some point, they started to realize that the situation didn't look right. They decided to search for the closest destination. Then, without warning, the road dipped sharply into a muddy hollow. Following the GPS led them into a mud bog, a low, wet area on the road. The van lurched and bounced as Albert tried to steer them through it. But with a sickening shudder, the vehicle came to a halt, wheels spinning helplessly in the mud. Al tried to rock the van back and forth, shifting between drive and reverse, but it only sank deeper, the tires churning mud and spinning uselessly. Feeling frustrated and discouraged, he decided to sleep in the van that night. By morning, it was clear they were in trouble. Albert, who rarely used such words, said bluntly, "We're screwed." They tried to free the van by collecting rocks and using them for traction, but it wouldn't budge. Albert climbed a hill to try calling 911 and managed to get through briefly, giving their approximate location. However, the calls kept getting cut off, and they had no luck except for a few brief connections. They were nearly out of gas and stuck in a place where probably nobody knew they were. Rita and Albert, the devout Christians, prayed earnestly and often for help to arrive. "Please, Lord," they pleaded, feeling increasingly desperate. Reflecting on the GPS, Rita admits, "Yes, it was a GPS problem for us. Unfortunately, we should have stuck to the main highway. Maybe the information wasn't correct." Albert grew anxious as they realized they were stranded and lost. He was very anxious, and I tried to calm him. I told him it was late and we were tired. "We should just sleep and decide what to do in the morning," she said. During the first day, Albert tried digging the van out with their small shovel, but their efforts were in vain. They managed to free the van temporarily, only to get stuck in an even worse mud hole, something they couldn't fathom. We both cried and prayed, asking, "Lord, what do we do now?" We felt foolish, but we were in that situation, so we had to face it, Rita recalled. They decided to walk in search of help, turning once again to their GPS. They didn't trust it much at this point, but Al chose a nearby highway on the map, Nevada 225, to find the shortest route to walk out. However, after 4 miles or 7 kilometers, Rita's swollen knee forced them to turn back. Had they set out in the opposite direction, they would have found a working ranch just 8 kilometers away. By the third morning, Rita's knee was too painful for another hike. Albert decided he would go on alone. We prayed, read our daily devotions, and asked the Lord to go with him, to help him get there quickly and keep me safe while he was gone. It was very emotional. We cried deeply, something we hadn't done in years. I tried to compose myself so it would be easier for him to leave. If I had broken down, he wouldn't have been able to go. So, I tried to be strong for him, Rita proclaimed. Albert set off, and Rita remained behind, clinging to hope and prayer. Rita Chretien read her Bible daily during her ordeal, finding great comfort in its passages. One passage in particular stood out to her, Psalms 86, verses 2-7. "Preserve my soul. Be merciful unto me, O Lord, for I cry unto thee daily. Give ear, O Lord, unto my prayer, and attend to the voice of my supplication. In the day of my trouble I will call upon thee, for thou wilt answer me. This scripture became her anchor as she faced week after week of uncertainty and struggle. Whenever she was unsure of what to do, she would pray, "What do I do now, Lord? Show me what to do," she said. This was especially true in the mornings when she feared going outside the van, worried about wild animals. Rita would pray, asking for the Lord's help and protection, reminding herself of the need for fresh air. Trusting in God's care, she would take short 15-minute walks each day, and every other day she would make a longer trip to collect water, a task that took twice as long. Rita, admittedly, is not someone who likes to be alone. "I hated to go on a trip without my husband. I don't think I ever did. I don't even like being alone in a crowd." Yet here she was, utterly alone in the wilderness. It was very lonely, and the only way I could get through it was by praying and trusting the Lord to be with me, believing that somehow He would see me through each day. This deepening intimacy with God gradually helped diminish her fear of being alone. Every day the fear was less. Every day I looked forward to talking to God. As soon as I woke up, I'd say, "Good morning, Lord. Here I am." And it felt real, Rita recalled. As the days passed, she was hanging on to hope that Al had made it to civilization and rescue would come shortly, or that he would return with bad news. But day after day she waited for her husband, but he was nowhere to be seen. She was growing weaker, but she was surviving on trail mix, a nearby stream, candy, and fish oil pills. The first week I still had a little bit of trail mix. I would eat about a tablespoon a day to make it last. I thought I'd be out of there in a week. I also had some candy, so I'd eat one candy a day. But then I ran out, so it was just candy, and I took my fish oil tablet every day. She occasionally tried small green plants or weeds she found, but they were often too tough to chew or swallow. Eventually, she decided to stick to candy and fish oil. Food began to take on a spiritual dimension for Rita. She would have strong cravings and would imagine it on a plate, hold it out, and ask the Lord to bless it. I'd say, "Lord, could you give me the nutrition I would have gotten if I had eaten it? Thank you in Jesus' name." And then my hunger would go away for that meal, she proclaimed. Despite her hope and carefully maintained routines, there were moments when Rita felt overwhelmed and cried, but she had the presence of mind and the will to survive. Rita focused on what she needed to do and distracted herself with 2 other books besides her Bible. She also wrote in a journal to document the ordeal so her family would know what happened to them if she would not make it out, as well as a note for anyone passing by stating, "Please help, stuck," and gave the date of March 19th, 11. Another line read, "No food, no gas, dead battery, lost my way," and a chilling line which stated, "Al went to get help, find Mountain City, did not return. Maybe he died on the way?" The situation was getting dire, and on day 49 in the Nevada wilderness, Rita felt for the first time that she might not survive. It was such a gradual thing that I didn't notice I was getting weak until that last day. I went down to get water, and it was so difficult to get back. I was almost crawling, and I thought, "Oh no, what's happening to me?" My chest was sore, and I was out of breath. I thought I was going to have a heart attack. I barely made it back to the van and collapsed. I rested for a while, but I wasn't feeling any better, so I thought, maybe I'm going to die. Realizing this, Rita prepared herself. I cleaned up a bit, wrapped myself in a blanket, and lay down on the back bench of the van. I prayed a little child's prayer. "Now I lay me down to sleep. I pray the Lord my soul to keep. If I should die before I wake, I pray the Lord my soul to take." And I felt quite content with that. Then I went to sleep. By day 49, Rita Chretien felt her body weakening. She lay down on the back bench of the van, feeling that she might not survive. About 2 hours later, she later estimated after being rescued, she woke up to a noise. It was the sound of ATVs coming around the corner. Hearing them from afar is what stirred her awake. Without even realizing she was fully conscious, Rita jumped to her feet, yanked open the van door, and waved them down. Chad and Whitney Herman, along with Whitney's father, Troy, were searching for elk antlers when they spotted Rita's van on the deserted logging road. The group hadn't originally planned to take the route that led them to Rita, but fate had intervened. Chad, Troy, and Whitney were out near the ghost town of Roland, Nevada, close to the border, when Chad called 911 and reported finding Rita, who had been there since March 19th, telling the dispatcher her husband had left a month earlier, on March 22nd, to find help and had never returned. Chad suspected that the husband might not be okay. Chad and his group had come upon the woman while riding their four-wheelers in the wilderness after entering from the Wild Horse area. The roads were washed out, and the van was stuck in a riverbed. Dispatch informed Chad that a medical helicopter was being sent to the area. As the coordination continued, it was decided that Chad and his group would wait for the helicopter at the designated spot and guide the rescuers to Rita. A helicopter was sent to airlift Rita to hospital in Twin Falls, Idaho, as it was considered too risky to try to reach her by road. Rita Chretien managed to survive in treacherous conditions by consuming snow and small amounts of food, but she still lost up to 30 pounds or 13 kilos during her 49-day ordeal. Meanwhile, her husband, Al, remained missing. Doctors and police were left baffled by her survival, describing it as nothing short of a miracle. Remarkably, Rita was found to be in relatively good condition given her experience, and was released from the hospital to return home to British Columbia with her family for further care. Survival expert Brian Wheeler expressed his astonishment at her endurance, stating, "The fact that she's alive now, I was dumbfounded when I heard the news, just blown away. It's very unusual for anyone to survive that long, especially alone in an environment like that." Bill Landon, one of about 20 year-round residents in the town of Mountain City, described the local terrain as extremely challenging. "Them mountains are nasty, some of the gnarliest mountains you ever seen," he said. "The mud up there is something terrible. You sink up to your knees in it. When it rains back there, those roads turn to plum mush." Locals like Landon, familiar with these mountains, understand how easily they can swallow a person without a trace. They avoid venturing into the backcountry during winter, which can sometimes extend into April or even May. Tourists rarely visit the area until the summer sun has dried the land. Mel Bazanez, a 74-year-old retired grocery store owner who has lived in the region most of his life, found it hard to comprehend how anyone, particularly outsiders, would attempt the off-road route that the Chretiens did. "I can't imagine getting off the highway in this country at that time of year, even this time of year. The minute the guy got off the highway, he should have realized he was in trouble. Snow, mud, water, everything up there. It's no place to be. It's amazing she survived." After rescuing Rita Chretien, search teams quickly resumed efforts to find Al Chretien, combing through canyons and mountainsides in the hope that he might have taken shelter in an abandoned mine or old cabin. A spokesman for the Elko County Sheriff's Department described the situation as an amazing story, given the lack of communication and the harsh conditions. He emphasized their focus on locating Al, expressing determination to find him. However, after a couple of weeks of scouring hundreds of miles in the Humboldt-Toiyabe Mountain City District wilderness, officials in northern Nevada decided to halt the intensive search effort. Despite the suspension, Rita, supported by church friends in her hometown and across Nevada and Idaho, continued the search for her husband. The van from which she was rescued was retrieved, and Rita continued to drive it even as the search efforts proved fruitless. Albert remained missing. It wasn't until 18 months later that Al's remains were discovered approximately 6 miles from a Nevada town where he had vanished. His body was found on the slopes of Merritt Mountain at around 8,100 feet in elevation near the Nevada-Idaho state line by elk hunters Rodney Thompson and Jay Doak, both from Elko. Deputies accompanied the hunters to the site, searched for evidence, and identified the 59-year-old using the wallet and business cards found on his body before transporting his remains to an Elko funeral home. The discovery brought a sense of relief and closure to Al's family. While deeply saddened, Rita felt a measure of peace knowing Albert's body had been found. At a press conference, Albert's brother Henry Chretien expressed gratitude that his brother's remains were found undisturbed by animals. Our understanding is that Albert's remains were found resting under a tree. He had placed his backpack where it could be seen, lay down under the protection of the tree for much-needed rest, and died peacefully in his sleep. We had long concluded he was in heaven already, Henry shared. Now we have insight into his last day here. We now have comfort and closure. We say praise the Lord. Rita expressed pride in how far her husband had managed to travel through the wilderness in his attempt to find help before succumbing to the elements. I think I can really say I've had closure for a long time, but this was really nice to have tangible evidence of how he passed away. It was a great joy and relief to know he was there, obviously resting in peace. It was such a comfort to know his body was not ripped apart by wild animals, she said. Elko County Sheriff's Deputy David Prohl noted that Al was within 6 miles of Mountain City when his GPS battery likely failed, leading him to walk too far north, uphill, into the deepest snow. It took a courageous man to make it as far as Mr. Chretien did, Prohl remarked. Rita Chretien truly believes that her faith and the grace of God helped her endure the 7 weeks of solitude, waiting for rescue. She is certain that divine intervention played a part in her survival, even in those desperate moments when all seemed lost. Through it all, Rita relied on her faith and her daily prayers to find strength in the face of overwhelming isolation, fear, and uncertainty. Her faith saw her through the darkest moments and helped her endure the unimaginable. For Rita, life continues to be a journey of faith, one where she has learned to place her trust in God fully and find strength in His guidance. Her relationship with Christ is more critical than ever. It's very important to me. It always has been, but now I know it's a deeper walk. Without it, I don't think I could survive life. I don't think I'd have enough meaning to be excited about life, but I am excited. Each new day is great because God is there to guide me. I know the future isn't in my control, it's in God's control. Albert Chretien started every morning bouncing out of bed and yelling his victory call of yippee as he flew down the stairs with enthusiasm. It was with that same devotion and love that close to 500 people gathered inside the Bethel Church in Penticton in 2012 to celebrate his life. Reflecting on her husband, Rita stated, "Al rarely missed a day without saying to me, 'I love you.' I have many good memories to cherish for the rest of my life. We were married 38 years. He truly was a gift of God to me. I miss him very much, and I will see him again someday." There is a unique thrill in taking the road less traveled. Away from the humdrum of highways, you find a world that most never see. A faster and more scenic drive on a less traveled road seemed like a good idea on your Google Maps, can turn treacherous without warning. Mud can swallow your tires, rocks can puncture them. A sudden storm can turn a simple trail into a quagmire, where even the most rugged vehicle finds itself slipping, sliding, and sometimes stuck. There is a raw, unfiltered reality to the wilderness. Out here, help is not just a phone call away. The road can be unforgiving and the elements relentless. But it is in these moments, when the road seems endless and the way uncertain, that you find out what you are truly made of. You learn to trust your instincts, to rely on yourself, and to find strength in the struggle. The road tests you, challenges you, and in doing so shapes you. When planning a road trip, be sure to create a detailed itinerary and share it with someone who isn't joining you. If you decide to deviate from the planned route, inform this person of your new plans and location. Stay committed to the route you've chosen and avoid taking unplanned shortcuts. If for some reason you decided to go off the highway on a dirt road, make sure your car is capable of getting out of any pitfalls that may arise. 4x4 vehicles should be standard, but you should also have it stocked with items like tire fixer items, traction aids, and a winch to pull you out of a sticky situation. If you happen to get stuck somewhere in a remote wilderness, staying with your vehicle is your best bet. Use bright clothing, reflectors, or emergency flares to make your location visible to rescuers. Raise the hood of the car or hang a bright piece of cloth to signal distress. If you have limited food and water, ration them carefully. Avoid consuming any resources until you have a plan and understand your situation better. Attempt to call or text for help. Texts often go through when calls do not. If you have a signal, share your GPS coordinates. If you're stuck in mud or sand, lower the air pressure in your tires to increase their surface area and grip. Be careful not to deflate them too much, just enough to help traction. If you're low on water, consider collecting rainwater or finding a nearby source like a stream or pond. Boil or filter any water you collect to ensure it's safe to drink. If you must walk out, decide on a time frame before attempting to walk for help. If no help arrives within a set period, mark your vehicle's location clearly and carefully consider the distance and terrain before leaving on foot. Road tripping, especially when you take those rough shortcuts, is a delicate balance between joy and danger, thrill and caution. It is about knowing when to push forward and when to turn back, when to speed up and when to slow down. Embrace the road, but understand what is needed to enjoy the off-road safely to avoid an outdoor disaster. If you've made it this far, please consider clicking those subscribe and like buttons. Want more outdoor disasters content? Check out these videos I believe you'll enjoy. Thank you for watching.